The season update is out, motherfuckers! Congratulations, Mutant, it only took ya 3 weeks. So the new update is finally out and it contains a whole bunch of sexy remodels, complete bullshit, and some well-deserved nerfs. Alright, so first on the list we've got some reworks to cover, mainly ones for Alice and Vexana, who are now both broken. Alice in the fact that you can now look at her without feeling the desire to vomit, and Vexana now takes absolutely no skill to play whatsoever. Next up is the free hero rotation for this week, consisting out of you don't care about this. Moving on to skins for this patch, we've got British Harley, Lettuce Bane is now on sale, Terminator Moskov can now be purchased with rare skin fragments, and please just fucking release it, Moonton, I am begging you, Gord, still has not been released. Speaking of hero changes, there are a bunch of those this patch. Starting with Moskov, who now gets 70% extra attack speed from his 1, his 2's mana cost has been decreased by 10, and his ult has higher base damage on early levels. Moving on to Leslie, her 1 is seeing an increase in cooldown in the early game, and her passive has been buffed to now give her 1% additional crit chance for every 1 point of physical penetration she has. In other words, fuck this game. Yi Sun-shin is getting a well-deserved buff this patch, with the bonus damage when using the glaive being increased to 35% instead of 20%, and his 2 now gives you a vision of the area that you're aiming at. Oh yeah, and he also can't have a cigar anymore. And speaking of bullshit, Chu is now useless. His 2 now no longer grants invincibility, but instead makes him CC immune, and he also gets a 50% damage mitigation buff for the next 2 seconds. Minotaur is getting the rage he gains when in combat doubled, but also has his HP growth nerfed. Hilda also got her health nerfed, and her 1 now has 1 second more cooldown. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the high point of this patch. Lancelot's finally getting nerfed. The power scaling in his ult has been reduced by 30%, and it no longer provides a knockback effect, which is 1 step closer to having him removed from the game, so make sure to keep on praying and it might soon come true. Carries 2 is seeing a bunch of changes this patch, with reduced cooldown and lower mana cost, because having a 200% power scaling on an ability with a 2 seconds cooldown is absolutely fair. Gusion is also getting nerfed. The dash on his 1 and ult is now executed with less speed, and his 2 has lower base damage on both casts. Kagura's umbrella now has a reduced range, while Clint's ultimate has more range. Hayabusa got a new background story, Belmont can no longer double tap his 2, and Farsa's 1 can now freely interrupt the channel of her ult, plus her ult's warning indicator has been adjusted to match its actual range. Freya's passive is now useful. It got an increased radius of 50% and the animations changed. Angela is also seeing some changes. She can no longer ult herself. Her ult lets out an alert sound when it ends, and if you instacast her ult, she will now fuse with the closest ally. Jawhead is getting some big boy changes this patch. I'm just kidding, his missiles now simply fly faster the more you level the ability. Karina got a new background story. Zask, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. Lala's epic skin is now more child friendly, which is very sad. Valir got a new indicator for his 2, Helkurt's ult now looks different for his allies, and enemies can see half a unit more than before when he uses ult. Roger now also can't have a cigar anymore, and Bane got some issues fixed that I can't be bothered to talk about right now because they're really irrelevant. Just like this thing that I'm still trying to understand. No, seriously, what the fuck do they mean with that? With this patch, there's also a lot of item changes. Inspire, Sprint, Iron Wall, Aegis, and Weaken all have been changed. And while the changes for Inspire and Weaken are not worth mentioning, I'm still gonna cover the rest of the changes. Aegis now gives a shield, Iron Wall gives you damage mitigation against tower shots, and Sprint will last for 2 seconds before it starts to decay. Thunderbelt and Endless Battle both no longer provide magical power, but the damage on their passives has been increased. Calamity Reaper now gives you more mana and mana regen. The damage from Windtalker's passive now depends on your attack speed, and that's pretty much it. There's some more shit we're not gonna talk about because nobody cares, but for now, here's this. Farsa has officially been banned from Brawl mode. Amazing. A couple of masteries now have different icons. Draft Pick now has 4 bans available, and there's a new group system, but it's gone already because Moonton fucked it up again and now has to fix it. And now here is all this. Oh yeah, and one last thing before I forget. Moonton added a little inspirational quote to the loading page that goes like this. Boycott bad games and refuse pirated games. Keep yourself safe at all times and beware of fraud. Remember to enjoy all games in moderation. Boycott bad games. Well, there goes my YouTube career.